When it comes to EVE Online, every player wants to know the most effective tactic available. You want to know the meta. The meta controls everything. It determines what will and will not happen. Knowing the meta will alter your views, make you question your reality. It might even make you laugh. And now, you're part of it. You're watching The Meta Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Meta Show. Today is May the 13th, 2023. I'm Brisc Rubal. We have an action-packed show for you today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, but before we get into that, Mark is on location. We'll see him in a moment. We had a pretty big happening in EVE this week, the passing of Bernie Nader, a.k.a. ISD Durham. And I just wanted to say a few words. As you can see, we are live here. Well, we were live. This is from this morning at the Molia Monument, where myself, Elise Randolph, CCP Zealous, and a bunch of Bernie's friends were present to honor him by dropping a can at the Molia Monument. It's rare that you see players that you've known for so long pass away, but it's unfortunately a fact of life in EVE Online. And I think a lot of people knew Bernie. A lot of people knew ISD Durham. As a CSM member, I got to know him pretty well. We spent a lot of time in the same channels. In Rookie Help, we spent a lot of time talking about a variety of moderation-related topics when it came to the forums and those types of things. And he was a ubiquitous presence on the INN, not the INN, on the CCP EVE channel, Tuesday nights, chill streams, and some other things. So I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge him. I am going to be having a memorial drink in his honor tonight. I hope you guys will all join me. Bernie in the game was a prolific player. He'd been around for a very long time. He was a wormholer. He was an AT player, and he was a member of, I believe he was he was definitely in PL. I remember him when he was in PL. He was in Volta, I believe, for a while. So this guy got around, and losing a friend, losing a player like that has meant so much to so many people in the game and has been such a fixture in the community for so long is really rough. So from those of us here at INN and on the Meta Show, fair winds and following seas to our friend Bernie at CCP and our friend ISD Durham. All right. After the somber note is over, let's talk a little bit about what's been going on in EVE this week. And if the one thing that I think you all probably have noticed is that yet again, the vaunted chat servers that enable us to shit talk each other, but more importantly, know who is in local and who is not, are busted. And they've been busted for like an entire week. This is not good. Now, in order to get more information on what is exactly going on with Blackout Redux here in local, we're going to go live to our man on the scene, Mark Resurrectus, who is live at the servers right now. Mark, can you tell us what's going on?
Yes, hello, Brisc. It's me, Mark Resurrectus, live here from the CCP server farm, where I have to tell you, Brisc, stuff is fucked. It's been bad before, but it's not nearly as bad as it is now. As you can see behind me, the CCP offices are rife with strife right now. I spoke to one CCPer who was gnashing their teeth and lamenting how their life had reached this stage. And got to tell you, Brisc, things look grim.
I see CCP Hamster is working very hard in the background there. I guess that's why the servers are still online. Is that right?
Yeah, CCP Hamster, one of the few remaining CCPers still in the offices right now. Most have fled to be with their families. Thankfully, CCP Hamster here, fruitlessly perhaps, in a dire attempt to keep things going, the chat servers on and off periodically over the last couple of weeks. I couldn't be happier personally. This is a boon for my people and a great a great chance for me to unload some of my stock as a major holder of Sisters Extended Probe Launchers, Brisc. So yes, as you can clearly see, stuff is not good here. Oh, hang on a second. I seem to have stood in front of a still background instead of what is clearly an animated situation here. Very animated, in fact.
Very animated.
Very animated. Yes. So it's a tough scene, Brisc. I've seen a lot of like I said, a lot of weeping, gnashing of teeth. Several CCPers I saw dive into the sea to get away from this situation. So it's a developing story. We'll continue to keep eyes on this. You know, I've heard stories already of CCP Swift personally going in with a single bottle of spritz water to try and douse these horrible flames, Brisc. But God's almighty, he hasn't come back out yet, and I fear the worst.
Now, Mark, as a wormholer, you're used to not having local. Do you have any advice for us poor case-based peons as to what we should be doing now?
I do, Brisc. I do. Thank you for asking. It's a smart question. Hang on. Getting some advice from my C6 overlords on how to respond to this. Yes, that's right, Brisc. I've been told that everybody should just get good, and that the optimal response.
Why didn't I think of that?
I know. It's a tough one, Brisc. It's hard. I've seen a lot of people over the last couple of days in the official Eve server, in the Imperium Discord server, in the handful of other places where I just kind of hang out and do my thing, and all of them have the same result. Oh, what are we gonna do? Well, people come into local. Well, how do we know? Well, there's a button on your keyboard, and if you press it, the D
it makes a cool noise.
It does make a very cool noise, Brisc, an exceptionally cool noise. I recommend to all of those Vexor pilots out there, those Ishtar pilots in your very, very valuable Ishtars, press that D-scan button, baby. Do your job, and you know, you'll be safe. I promise you, baby bird. That the lack of local will not. Well, it might kill you, but you know, at least it'll be interesting. So
you'll be stronger for it. All right, that is our man. That is our man, Mark Resurrectus, on the scene. We're going to go back live now to our normal studio where, guess what? Everybody is still here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Here we go. Kaz and your angry mustache. Oh, wait. Everything. This is fine.
Yep, we're good.
This is totally fine.
Yes.
All right, let's fix that. We don't want to be in the flames.
Mark.
I have used the wormholer ability to be anywhere in New Eden at once. Now be back here at the studio in just a flash. I'm so glad that you're here with me, Brisc. You, my very good friend Casimir, and my also very good friend Cursed Angry Mustache.
He is here. Hi, Angry.
Hello.
So we've got a ton of news this week. I have one brief thing that I wanted to do, and I forgot to mention it to you guys, but this is an interesting story. So we're going to do a very brief nullsec power hour because we had something happen that I thought was very amusing, and I wanted to share it with you. So we're going to go and do the nullsec power hour here for 1 second, and then we're going to get into talking with Angry and Kaz. So, as you all are aware, the Battle of M2 happened December 31st and January 1st of 2021. It was 2 years ago. Almost 2 years ago. Was it 21 or 22?
Yeah,
it might have been 22.
Start of 21, correct. It's a little
21.
over 2 years now.
It's been 2 years. 2 years since the Battle of M2. Now, what is M2 known for? Well, it was the largest loss of Titans in the history of EVE Online. It was one of the bloodiest battles in the history of EVE Online. Hundreds of thousands of real-life dollars worth of EVE Online assets were put to the torch. But the most famous thing that happened at M2 was the month-long fight that happened after it, where the Imperium maintained a siege on the system, capturing and killing Titan after Titan, fax after fax, super after super, from people who had logged out during the first battle, did not show up to the second battle, and left their stuff offline for days, weeks even, some months, before trying to get their stuff out. Some were successful, but most were not. Now, this fight was 17 months ago, as Kharkov has noted. That is almost 2 years. It has been a long time since that frosty morning in late December, early January, where the Imperium had its greatest victory. But I want to tell you what happened just 1 week ago. And you guys are going to love this. So, 1 week ago, one of the last test titans that remained in M2 logged back into the game. Now, this is crazy because it was 17 months later, almost 2 years later.
I'm sorry. I got to correct this. This is wrong. It's 29 months.
29 months, so not 17. So shut up, Kharkov. Yeah. You're as math challenged as I am. More than 2 years. Logs back in. Now, the good news was, unlike what normally would have happened, which is this guy would have gotten out completely safely because we haven't been doing M2 in forever. Mm-hmm. This guy recognized that while he was in Delve, that since test is no longer a thing, it has been almost completely destroyed. It is now a tiny husk of a shell of a faction warfare group that even the faction warfare guys laugh at. This Titan pilot has chosen to join Goon Swarm.
Hell yeah, dude.
He approached a recruiter in ADFU, one of the many Goon Swarm Federation corporations, and was able to, when he logged in, jump the Titan into 5-tax CQ, dock it up in the Keepstar, and it has survived. So, literally, more than 2 years after M2, we are still extracting assets from that fight. I think this is pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean,
pays off.
It does. It does. I will say, I do wonder if one of the selling points when that coalition was putting together their war fleet was that there may be the opportunity for you to have to log off for your supers for 2.5 years. I don't know if that was in the promotional material.
That may not have been in the promotional material. The best part is, on the screen right now, this was one of the Ghost Titans. It generated a kill mail.
Wow.
But it's not dead.
Oh,
this was one of the Ghost Titans.
That's
one of the Ghost Titans. So there you go. Very interesting. So not only did we get a Titan back, we got a Ghost Titan, and we have a new Titan pilot for Goon Swarm, which I always appreciate. Now, of course, if you are someone, say, extremely cynical, someone, say, like, maybe innominate, your first response is going to be, all right, how long does he stay in Goons after he got his Titan out? But given the fact that Test was next, Test is now no longer even really a thing in nullsec.
Yeah. It's a
I would
long
assume,
way to the drone regions and even farther to where Test Alliance lives, which
right.
I think is nowhere.
That's what I'm thinking. So I figure at the end of the day, there's probably little chance that this guy is going to wander his shit away because, hey, you know what? Where else is there to go?
Mm-hmm.
All right. That is our NullSec Power Hour for today. We're going to head into the top story, which is obviously we're going to talk a little bit now about all the Eve news this week, starting with, of course, the chat servers. Now, when we talked about the chat servers earlier, Hello Meow made an extremely important point, and I didn't want to gloss this over. We're talking about local. People are concerned about local. This is not just local. This is every single chat server.
Yeah,
it's Fleet chat. It's Alliance chat. It's Corp chat. It's Rookie Help. It's every channel is jacked up. And
annoying.
It got to the point, and I have to say, I was very surprised that it got to this point. It got to the point that CCP put out a temporary workaround fix that gives you local, but it doesn't give you the standings in local. So you can see how many people are actually there, and you can see their names and stuff, but you can't tell your standings or the standings on your character don't apply to it. So everybody just looks neutral, which to me is scarier than if we had no local at all, because now I can see all these guys, but I don't know who the hell they are. And I'm not going to right click show info on every single person that's in chat, especially if potentially, you know, I'm in my own home territory and they're blue, and trying to figure out which one of these 17 guys is the true newt is kind of rough. So I haven't even turned it on. But the fact that they did that is kind of crazy. And not only I heard a lot of complaints from people about chat not working in K-Space. I heard the opposite of it in Wormholes. I had at least 2 different players send me different screenshots, and Mark, you can confirm this, of local showing everybody in the wormhole in local chat in Wormhole space, which is the opposite of how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, I don't
know. What the hell?
I have not personally seen. I heard some people talk about the local, like accurate local in Wormhole space. I haven't seen it myself. What I did see was the, like, you would get local from somebody else from another system in your wormhole. So it looked like there were people. A lot of people thought that it was the local that you were in, because you also showed up in it. But that is you show up in, you know, any local that you are in, even if you. I
mean, that's more likely what it was. I mean, that's what I figure is that it was some local they were in before, but I didn't dig into more detail because I knew the chat servers were fucked, and yeah, they were fucked.
It's been a dream, really, to just kind of sit back and watch. Like, I understand. You have to understand. So Blackout happened before I came back to the game this most recent time. So I didn't get to I didn't personally get to enjoy Blackout. I know that
you would have enjoyed it for about 3 days.
Yeah, I've heard
that's what happened.
Kind of a contentious subject among my K-Space friends, or your more K-Space adjacent people. But that being said, you know, I think it's an interesting shakeup. It's not, you know, it's not the end of the world. They'll probably get it figured out. I don't know if they know.
Interesting shakeup. That's
an interesting shakeup. Yes.
Abraham Lincoln got a headache at the theater that night. Very interesting shakeup.
An interesting shakeup. I would say, listen, I know a lot of people in nullsec who are feeling a lot of anxiety right now, a lot of insecurity. And I want you to know, first of all, there's nothing to worry about. Okay. This happens to a lot of people. Okay, not having local is I understand it. Listen, I get it. It's very, very spooky, and
they have pills for that, right?
You look in local and there's nobody there, and you're like, is there nobody there? Maybe, I don't know. Who can say? However, I'm going to tell you this is a foolproof way to know if there are people in local, because I know you'll hear some wormholers meme about, oh, just use DScan. But there are recon chips too, and they can be kind of spooky. So listen, I'm going to tell you the foolproof way. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to get any covert op chip, whatever you want, any covert op chip. You can do it with T3. You're going to put on it. You're going to fit one. You can go down to your local Jita and more to get one if you don't have one. You're going to get, it's called a Sisters Extended Combat Probe, or a Sisters Extended Probe Launcher. Okay. And then you're going to get some Sisters Combat Probes, usually like 16, though you could do it with 8. It's just kind of a pain in the ass. And then what you're going to do is, and this is the important part, you're going to undock first, right? That's where you press.
That helps to do that.
You press the button.
Usually the first step.
Yeah. So there's a button on the screen in the station. You press that one that says undock, and then you have to go out into space. I know. Tricky, right? Very tricky. But you go out into space, and then you launch those probes, right? You launch those probes.
Yes.
Yep. And then you send them out into space, and the probes come back and they're like, hey, there's some guys out here, bro.
So I have an advanced question, Mark. So how do I roll the Stargates into my system?
Correct.
So that no bad guys can get. So
no bad guys can get in.
I have an advanced question for Mark as well.
Do you know how to roll a Stargate?
I do. Go, Brisc. You I think you had one too. I'll come back
Mark,
to yours.
Mark, yes. You ignorant slut.
Yes.
Let me ask you this: When was the last time you had blops dropped on your head in J-Space?
I see that you were also reading.
Yes, I am. I'm reading chat, and that was a
Twitch
good
chat.
comment. That was a good comment.
It is a comment. I have. I'll tell you the truth. The last time I had a blops dropped on me,
You could say no.
was one that warped over to me actually.
Okay.
As part of a heavy armor fleet.
So he wasn't sinoing on top of your ass
that's
from
true.
nowhere.
More commentary now that I've been provoked. I've given to understand.
Yes, please, Kaz.
Mr.
I would love to hear this.
That you're now a Sov holder.
I am.
Yeah, the rental king of Wicked Creek is here.
I am
he
the
needs to
rental
learn.
king of Wicked Creek.
Well,
come on, Kaz. Come on, Kaz. Lecture him. I want to hear
bound, right? We're signatories to the agreement. I can only express my dismay at your life choices. I just want to
he's the renter king.
The audience for no reason at all.
Yeah, I do want to make sure the audience knows I'm not a renter.
He's a landlord.
I am the landlord. Okay, I am the renter king. My subjects, which is the desert,
I believe the correct term is rentoids.
Yes, the
rentoids. There you go.
My constituency within Wicked Creek, they are subservient to me and my Sov Empire there in Wicked Creek. You can go look in Dotland, it's there. And they pay fealty to me. Now they haven't paid fealty yet, but it's coming, I'm sure. That's part of how Sov works.
You're saying the rent is late?
The rent is late, and they will get charged late fees for that late rent. I'm taking these fucking. God damn, it's hot here, dude. I can't.
While he takes his glasses off, let me give a shout out to my boy Waldeck. It's good to see you, my friend. Thanks for joining.
It's one bathrobe, but it's a thick ass bathrobe.
I see that,
and I do love it. It's extremely comfortable, but fuck me running, dude. In Georgia in the early summer, it is hot and it is sticky. Anyway, so
Guten
yes.
Abend, Herr Waldeck. Now, Angry and Cass, back on the correct subject now that Mark has memed his way into oblivion.
Yes.
Do you guys were here for Blackout. You guys remember Blackout.
I came out for Blackout. I resubbed for Blackout, actually.
Now, Angry, what happened during Blackout? Give us a little consensus, because this is essentially what is happening now.
Well,
Hello Meow made a good point.
Because I never played in the Umbrella.
Oh, you never? Okay. Am I the only one that remembers it? Kaz, do you remember it?
So I came back very briefly in 2019 and then quit again after losing a jump freighter after wandering away from my computer thinking it had docked.
You quit after a loss? You giant pussy.
It was my first jump freighter loss ever, as a matter of fact. It damaged me spiritually. So that's when I then had to come back at the start of the war in 2020. But I do remember I was around for the Umbrella briefly. I learned to boson rat in my Titan and then witnessed what happened with Blackout. And in fact, I think that loss did happen with Blackout, although it was my fault, not local chat's fault, right? But what we saw happen was that ultimately just people did not log in and undock. There are areas of space where a no local chat works, and the architecture of that space has a whole game design that is oriented around that. Wormholes are like that. They function very well, right? I've lived in a wormhole, and the architecture of that space that lets you roll holes and live there and have all these other mechanics is suited to that, right? Whereas nullsec just never had any of that. It did not have 5 or 10 years of game design invested in how do people live there without local, right? Mm-hmm. People didn't have the training to do that, and so they weren't able to operate. And again, the architecture is different. As I was sarcastically sort of implying, you can't roll a Stargate. There's nothing you can do about it. It just works completely differently.
That sounds to me, because you're like quitter talk. Have you guys ever tried that?
Well, he's already said he quit after losing a jump freighter, so I mean, we got a quitter here anyway.
I had to heal and come back again. So, but that.
So listen. So first of all, I appreciate my boy D-Turk is in the chat. Hi, D-Turk. D-Turk has the ignominious honor of being 3 rows above me on the Eve Monument. So
yeah, dude.
He's been around as long as I have. He remembers what it's like. I remember what it's like. The rest of you children who weren't here for Blackout, wow. So let me tell you, before Blackout, things were okay. They weren't great. But one of the things that small gang PvPers and folks like me, who I consider myself a hunter, although I tend to go out in groups, not solo. And I'm not like the seeker hunter. I'm the guy that's sitting waiting for my friends to say, hey, we got something tackled. Let's go get it. And then I go help get it. We did that a lot. We were whalers. We would go out, we'd kill rock walls. We would wait for the response fleet. That was a big, fun thing. And I remember I advocated, like many people did prior to Blackout, hey, local is too strong. Too much intel is too big a thing. It makes it too easy. You can avoid gate camps. The umbrellas have an unfair advantage because they have these intel networks, which by the way are not working either. That lets you do all this. And the worst part now is, and Hello Meow pointed this out again, intel networks aren't working now, not just because local's busted, but because when you chat in the local chat, it doesn't always come up in time. We were having problems last night relaying fleet chat orders to people while we were streaming because the stuff was delayed like 10 minutes.
Right. Intel
so it's worse than Blackout. But so we were a lot of us were like, okay, let's try this Blackout thing. Let's get rid of perfect intel, see what happens. Well, we did. They announced Blackout. And I'll tell you, for the first 3 or 4 days, it was glorious. It was so much fun. Gate camps worked again. You would catch all kinds of crazy shit. We could catch rorquals. We would kill multiple. I mean, we killed a rorqual on Saturday Night Swarm, which is our Saturday night evening drunk fleet that we've been doing for 6 years. We caught a rork and killed it. We caught all kinds of crazy stuff. And it was fun, and it was a lot of fun, and everybody was excited. And we're like, yeah, this Blackout is the greatest thing ever. And then the rest of the story.
Yeah.
After about a week, everybody stopped logging in. And you can see it. I mean, Angry, you've seen the charts. It's like a hockey puck, a hockey stick. The numbers went down into the toilet. People stopped logging in. The crabbing fell off. The mining fell off. And everybody said, well, fuck this. I'm not going to risk a giant ship in this stuff. So they'd stop logging in. And it happened, and it took a month before they reversed it. And they said overall it was always going to be temporary. And that I think was one of the biggest things when they said in the beginning, well, this is just a temporary thing. We're just trying it out. That told all the crabs that they could wait it out.
Yeah.
And all they had to do was log out, go play something else. And it just happened to coincide, if I recall correctly, with World of Warcraft Classic coming out. Everybody just stopped and decided to go play WoW Classic and wait for local to come back. And then they finally announced that it was coming back at Eve Russia, and things started to tick up a little bit, and then it went away. But the result was, for about a month, the game died. There was nothing happening. And it took more than a year to get the numbers back to where they were pre-Blackout.
Right.
Am I remembering this correctly, Angry? Correct me if I'm wrong. You are the stats man.
Yeah, I think it didn't quite take a year because the rebound, the rebound was pretty strong, but I guess my observation during the thing was that it wasn't actually Blackout that really tanked activity. At least in Delve, it was the Sino change that came out at the same time. Because even during Blackout, if you were in a super, you could light a Sino on yourself and be saved in like 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But it was the combination of the two that shut down activity significantly.
I forgot that they actually paired the Umbrella nerf with Blackout. I thought that had come later. But yeah, and that influenced me too. I was pissed at that, as a matter of fact, as I remember the Sino changes and how dumb they were. Man, I could go on a whole nother 10-minute rant about the missed opportunities with that, right? Like, you take hard Sinos and you do nothing with them except put them on a recon. And that's it. Nothing else, right? No concept of like time to light them or how long they're alive or what can jump through them. Nada. Recons. That's it. Just, oh man, now I'm remembering how irritating I was.
Sub another alt.
Yeah.
And, right.
I mean,
exactly.
And just the lack of variety, right? How many more recon alts did we need in this game? They've got to be the most plexed thing in the entire game is put together another Force Recon alt. It's just unbelievable.
That's it.
Okay, I'm done. That was
and that's fair. And I think, that's one of the reasons why I sincerely hope that they are working day and night over the next couple of days to get this chat thing fixed. Now, the chat thing, I remember when we were on my first CSM 13 back in 2018, we were talking about changes to the chat servers, and they were rolling out the new chat where they had pulled chat out of the monolith. It was no longer going to be on the main Eve server. It was going to be in the cloud. And this was supposed to provide all kinds of benefits. And we saw a lot of problems with chat when it first happened. And there were all kinds of instability issues and all kinds of chat breaking, and people were bitching constantly. And they even did, if I recall correctly, they even gave folks game time or something for all the chat issues that had happened. And this was 5 or 6 years ago. And now it was 5 years ago, maybe a little bit less than that, less than lawyer 5 years. Okay. This is worse than I remember it being back then, because back then it was just local. It was not every other chat window. It was not every other chat channel. It was not delayed stuff. It was not random things and people appearing in channels that they're not actually in. So this is actually, I think, worse. And I'm sincerely hoping that they get on this quickly and get it resolved. I know next week they've got a public holiday, so I'm hoping that before Thursday this gets done, and I hope it doesn't drag on any longer. But I will say, at least it seems to me that they are doing everything that they can. And the fact that they were willing to put out a not ready for prime time feature preview that gave a second local.
The sketchiest looking feature preview.
Right. I mean, that was it. I was like, damn, you know.
It was incredible.
This is the greatest part of this weekend. And honestly, I was kind of impressed that they were both willing and had something like that ready to go in a functional enough form. Right. That's kind of cool, I guess. And they're treating it like a several alarm fire. At least I don't know about their operations and stuff. But what's ironic is that with Blackout, they forgot that it was even on. Right. And you ended up realizing that all the active CCP people that played were in wormholes at the time because they just had completely forgotten about us. And that's not how it is today. There's been a change there, at least. They're paying attention.
They get it.
They dropped the feature out, which is funny to play with. So we'll see. But yes, it is. They've got to be saying to themselves, wow, could the timing be any worse with the anniversary and everything they want to do with the expansion? So
rare is the circumstance where we go to CCP and say like, hey, people are really starting to complain about this stuff, man. And they're like, we know, we've got a plan and solution. Calm down. It's very strange. I mean,
anyway, well, I think that's enough of that. And I think obviously we're waiting. And I know I said quickly TM. You know how it is. When it comes to this stuff, quickly is less than a month. It's not like in an hour. It's less than a month. Right, yeah. So just bear with them. I don't think there's anything else we can really do at this point. Yeah, but just be aware, chat is fucked up. And
I would be shocked.
Don't take your good shit out.
Yeah, I would be shocked if it doesn't get fixed sometime next week. Right. Yeah. Just by the way they're acting. But you never know, right? With something that's wrong, right? We could be in 3 weeks, we could all be on Quasar chat everywhere because they decide the current thing can't be saved. I have no idea, right? That it'll be interesting.
There's one more thing before we move on, because then we have a couple more things.
Jinx is blaming the CSM, by the way. I think he's right.
Fuck you, Jinx.
For not being here too.
Yeah, for not. Yeah.
We invited all the CSMs.
Has time to sit in chat. Doesn't have time to come on comms. Incredible. No, here's something that I've seen a lot of recently, and I just want to address it real quick because it's something that I fully don't comprehend. I cannot comprehend. Like, I don't understand it. One thing, whenever something like this happens, there's some bug or some issue with the game that crops up, so many people, and it boggles the mind why this is some people's first response to this. So many people will come out of the woodwork and say, "Oh, the game sucks and CCP sucks, and I'm gonna stop playing now because the game's bad." I'm going to tell you something, friend, and maybe you don't hear this enough. Maybe you've never heard it. That's possible. I mean, I know a lot of people go their entire lives without hearing this. Nobody gives a shit, bro.
I don't think anybody goes their whole life without hearing that.
They really should not. And if you haven't, this is me telling you, nobody gives a shit, right? Like, yes, we understand you think you're extremely enlightened because you know, oh man, I'm going to tell them how bad the game is and how bad CCP's really fucked this one up. And oh man, I'm going to get them. I got a real zinger for Reddit, bro. Nobody gives a shit. Just stop. Just shut the fuck up. Like, just shut the fuck up. That's all you got to do. Just shut the fuck up. I see people doing it in chat right now. People are in there like, oh yeah, well, this is the last time I'm going to learn this lesson. Like, no, you won't. You'll be back. Shut the fuck up.
And that's the thing. We have lived through stuff breaking all the time. It's a standard deal.
Shit happens, man. I don't know what it's. The game's 20 years old. Like, it's not perfect. And listen, everybody understands people are frustrated. Okay, I'm frustrated. You're frustrated. Hell, I tried to run a fleet last night, and it's hard to do without fleet chat.
Stuff breaking is a feature, according to Nero.
Yeah.
It's not a bug.
I've
It's
been
a
playing
feature.
too long to get like pissed about this sort of thing, right? But if I were at a different point in my Eve life and I was really like, I want to play this weekend, this is super irritating, right? They're right to treat it like a 5-alarm fire. So
And
we'll
they
see what
are.
the future brings.
They absolutely are. The
Yeah.
fact that they rolled out a change so quick, or some kind of change so quickly, was not great.
I don't want to be super contrarian because I understand where Mark is coming from, but I don't have to run for re-election, so I'm going to be honest. This is bullshit, guys. I'm just saying. The chat stuff, the whole point of pulling it out of the monolith and everything was to make it more stable, and it's not. And I mean, I would like for them, at some point, they need to redo chat completely. The chat is ancient.
It is ancient.
It is ancient, but it's also something that needs to work. It's a bedrock part of the game. There are brand new games, brand new MMOs that are in early access that are alphas.
Mm-hmm.
That launch in early access with a stable working chat system.
And I bet those.
And this game is 20 years old and it doesn't.
2003.
It's pretty fucking important, guys.
It is annoying.
It should not be something that breaks.
It is annoying.
There's a lot of stuff that can break in this game, but something like that, random people who have never made an MMO can make work. It shouldn't break. Now, I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick, but come on.
Which is old.
Now, if last night on Rampage, Anominate gave a long discussion of how they switched the chat from IRC to Jabber, and it was much easier when it was IRC, and now it's Jabber, and he used a lot of words that I recognize some of. So if you want to get into more detail on that, last night on Rampage we talked about it. But the bottom line for me is, this is a basic function. It needs to work all the time.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, that's a 4-alarm fire that needs to get put out pretty damn quick.
Our chat is now reporting that Jita suddenly works. Did they manage to fix it while we were here?
I doubt it. No, I doubt it.
That would be exceptionally.
It's been coming and going. It's coming and going. Like, that's the thing. Sometimes it's up and sometimes it's not. So it's not like this is, a symbol that is working. It could stop in 10 minutes. It could stop in half an hour. I still have the little red bubble on the launcher telling me that there's an active announcement. So, I mean, I don't think that they're announcing that it was fixed. And I don't see any pings on the EVE online Discord saying, hey, guys, we've resolved it. So that's just how it is. I'll touch my beard for you guys again. There you go. Like that.
Can I just get the last word on this?
Mustache, you can have the last word on anything
Sure
you like,
thing.
my friend.
I just want to say I had a really great CSM experience because someone complained about the game to me on something I have no power to fix, and it's a Reddit comment on Reddit by someone. I won't link it to protect the guilty, but it says, "Who do I have to talk to about getting a refund? This game with the busted local isn't playable, and I want to be compensated for the time I'm losing. I am Omega. I cannot pause it. I cannot play with this like this. I have no gameplay that playable when local is broken. I'll reply every hour with a question mark until I get an answer. For my CSM, I want an answer, please, and thank you."
What a fucking moron! Oh my god, I want a fucking refund, bro. Oh, come on, I need to talk to him. I need to
I'm sorry, Karen, there are no managers here. They're all working on fixing the
you're
chat
his
servers.
CSM representative too, Mark. Why isn't he reaching out to you?
Oh, they never reach out to me because they know this will happen, dude.
There you
Oh
go.
my god.
Anyway.
How do these people end up playing? How do they get out of bed in the morning?
But to see Mark and to Angry's point and everything, I mean, the bottom line is the guy's not wrong. I mean, at the end of the day, shit's not working. Now, is he going to get his money back? Probably not. Should he be even asking for his money back? That's kind of a dumb thing to be worrying about. The $5 for the 3 days that it's not worked, or 4 days that it's not worked so far. I mean, if it goes on for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, then they better start talking about comp time for everybody.
If it does go on until
But
the
3
end of this
days.
week,
Sure.
even the middle, they will do something, I imagine.
At the same time, it's like, guy. I mean, it's the guy that comes into the store and he's like, "What do you mean there's no ice? I got to drink this coffee hot."
You mean to tell me the milkshake machine's down again? I need my goddamn milkshake.
Right.
Bro, come on.
It's like, come on, guy. All right. Anyway, now we talked about the fact that the chat servers are broken because this is a 20-year-old game. And last week we had our 20-year-old EVE anniversary. show where we had Mittens and we had Dunk Dinkle and we had Merkel Chen on, and it was a great show, and I very much liked it. And for those of you who didn't like the fact that we invited Mittens back, you can all go fuck yourselves and turn the stream off. If you don't like it, I'll invite whoever I want on the show. I'm the host. But in any event, we had a discussion of the 20th anniversary, but glossing over the 20th anniversary, deep in the 20th anniversary thread was the announcement of the latest EVE expansion, which apparently is going to be green because they're calling it Viridian. Here it is down at the bottom, EVE Viridian. There it is. It's green. There it is. Very green. Coming at you. Gotta love it. So they announced the expansion. I'll briefly say, so they're saying, as if there wasn't enough to celebrate already, here we go. New expansion coming in June of 23. It will open even more avenues for players to forge new relationships, fly and work together for the glory of their corporation. I fly for the glory of in it, just saying. Further shaping New Eden and building upon 20 years of legacy in space. You can start getting excited for structure customization. Structure skins, finally one. New Tech 2 capital ships, which we know now from the interview that Hilmar gave on the CCP stream last week, is Tech 2 Dreads. Plus corporation goals and content such as the much anticipated loyalty point tax. So, EVE Viridian, they're talking about empowering capsuleers to come together and work towards a joint purpose set by their corp leaders involving many play styles and working towards corp goals. Then they're saying as part of the expansion, corps will also be able to spend their collected Evermarks on player-owned structure customization, and that'll give them new tools and agency to brand their structures, and obviously the Tech 2 Dreads. I assume there will be balance changes and other things that are going to be in here. What do you guys think about this newest expansion announcement? I want to hear from Cads and Angry first, because I know Mark has a lot to say.
Yeah, go ahead, Andrew. All right. I mean, I'm excited to see some forward motion, right? I've been talking for a long time about how the capital metagame has been somewhat stagnant, right? They made many changes in Citadel a long time ago, and they made another big set of changes right before Scarcity that started with what we were just talking about in Blackout. And since then, there hasn't been a lot of dramatic shift, and I think there needs to be. So if this can be some of the start of that, and we have them focusing on that part of the game again, all to the good. I'm obviously also happy to hear about anything corp related, right? That we spent a lot of time talking to them at the start of the term about things where it felt like the game was weak for corps getting organized in various ways. And I'm happy to see that they're hopefully going to address some of that. That'll be interesting.
Angry?
And I'm guessing, so this is an NDA, so I can say this, is that you can say what we're doing, that's never NDA. What we're doing is we're convincing CCP to put the Tech 2 Dreads in terms of power, utility, and cost in a good spot. And I mean, we obviously can't dictate what comes out. I think they will be in a good spot when they come out. It won't be like the initial capital change, industry change, where the things were completely unbuildable. And much like Kazan, I think T2 capitals fit an important place in the power curve because right now there's a huge gap between players owning a capital and owning the next step up, which is either a faction capital, which is either a navy cap because pyro caps are still unbuildable, or super carrier. And these T2 Dreads will sort of even out that giant step between 3B for a hull and 30B for a hull. It'll also fix one of the very annoying things right now, which is there's fucking nothing to mine nullsec. By making Moongu more valuable, because you still need Moongu.
Something to use it for.
Yeah, and overall, I'm optimistic. So you can only take my word for that, but it is what it is.
Mark,
yes.
What do you think?
The T2 caps are fine, and they're gonna be fine. I think a lot of people are worried that T2 caps they're drawing conclusions about what they think they're going to be based on other T2 variants of other things. I would say don't do that. Just understand that when CCP makes a T2 version of something, it's not generally it's going to be something different, right? So don't expect what you're expecting. Expect something different. Beyond that, also don't ask us what they do because we can't tell you what they do.
We can tell you what we've asked for them to do. We can't tell you what they've said okay or no to.
That is true. That is true. They're neat. They're neat. I'm looking forward to seeing them. They've got cool names too. I like that. I always like a good name. And I think I heard the finished like class name the other day, which is also very cool. So we'll see. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. What I'm actually really looking forward to, what I perhaps am most looking forward to, are the structure customizations, because everybody knows, if you know me, you know that I'm a whore for aesthetics. I absolutely am a slut for this kind of thing. That's not a joke. That's just the God's honest truth. I love the way things look. And I like changing them and tinkering with them. And this is my second Alliance logo because I wasn't happy just to let the first one go.
The first one was not weeb enough for you, right?
Was not nearly weeb enough for me, which, by the way, turbofeederglory.com, we have merch. I have pins now. They're pretty cool pins. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. So if we get half of what we saw at the summit in terms of these structure customizations or structure modifications or whatever they want to call them, it's going to be fucking gangster, and it's going to change, I think, the way a lot of people feel about, because one of the big things we talked about, or one of the big things that I talked about, it's in my presentation for at the Wormhole Summit, which I did release. This is all public. This is not NDA. One of the big things that we stressed was how important it is to have both assets that are valuable in terms of like, physical value that groups can fight over, and also assets that have emotional value that groups can fight over. One of the things I talked about was allowing wormholers to like plant a flag in their wormhole that would change the JTAG or append the JTAG with the name of their own entered name of the system, right? I think that having these kind of structure customizations will go a long way towards doing the same, where it's not just the issue of, well, here's a keep star. It looks like every other keep star in the fucking game, and wow, how impressive it is to see these dreads or these supers sitting on our keep star. Oh boy, we sure are cool. Go Goons, right? What you're going to have instead, I think, are a lot of different options for how to fly your flag. And I think that's important because it is one thing to fight over things that have value. And it's another thing entirely to fight over things that are like moral victories, right? Like morale fighting. That sort of thing I think is interesting, and is a dynamic that the game has explored, but never in such a tangible way before. I mean, it's one thing to fight over a structure that, just, hey, my stuff is in there, and it's another thing to fight over where like, this is our fucking dojo, bro. Like, fucking figure it out. Like, this is, this represents what we are as a group. So super excited about it. I think it's gonna be super cool. I mean, there's gonna be a ton of stuff in this patch. I mean, we've seen we've seen the big ticket items. I'm sure they've got a ton of little things going back and forth, but I really like, and I know we've talked about this a little bit before too, I really like this new pattern of getting maybe one or two a year, these big expansions. Because it really gives people, I think, the opportunity to have something to look forward to.
Some of the folks in chat had asked, what's the point of taxing LP? And I think, to be clear, the LP tax is something that I think a lot of the faction warfare corporations have asked for. A lot of the big nullsec groups have asked for it as well, because LP is one of the very few ways that you can generate ISK in this game without there being a way for the corporation or the alliance to get a little bit of a taste of it. And the whole point of that is, when you are, say, the initiative, and you have a Macarial doctrine, or you have a APOC Navy issued doctrine, or you have a Hurricane Fleet issued doctrine, or some other doctrine that requires people to go and farm for the blueprints that you have to buy off the LP store because that's the only way you can get them. Being able to buy those using LP that your members have put together is much easier than begging people to go do this and then sell them to the corp or sell them to the alliance. And I think that's pretty important. Plus, if you're in faction warfare space and you're PvPing and stuff like that, you're not ratting, you're not out, mining, you're doing faction warfare, and LP is how you get rewarded. So being able to generate revenue to keep things like SRP and structures and things like that going for a faction warfare group is very hard. And usually, in my experience, and from what I've talked to from a handful of folks that I talked to in the faction warfare community, Michael and Anarcia and a bunch of other folks in the chat that we talk to all the time, there's like 2 or 3 guys typically in all of these groups that fund everything. And if they go away, then those groups don't have a funding source anymore. So providing them with a way to generate income on the corp and the alliance level is pretty critical. So I think that's a very welcome thing for folks in the faction warfare space.
The other thing is that that is targeted at is groups living in NPC space, because there are relatively a lot of groups that live in NPC space, and the primary way of earning money there is through burners. So this entire alliance, or this corp, lives in a station with missions, and then they run burners. However, the issue with that is you have a lot of very rich members, and the alliance itself has no money and nothing. And what this allows these groups that live in NPC space to do is now they can get organized. They can start funding alliance structures, alliance initiatives, or things like that. For example, very famously, back in the day, Black Legion funded their entire alliance off of crystal sets in Gristus and Vino. And if Elo Nighter feels like that again, you can actually fund an entire alliance and SRP and whatever off just the burners, and not have to, combat the local saw holders for moons. Although it was fun when Elo Knight was killing our Vino moons every other 2 weeks or so.
I have 2 quick questions. Well, one question and one thing I want to address. Brisc, is it Michael or McCall?
I say Michael because it probably is McCall, and that'll piss him off.
Idea.
So I'm okay with that.
I should probably ask him. Second thing is, I see somebody in the chat right now, Nat3Ez. I'm gonna call you out, bro. Who's talking about how let me go back and read this.
Taxation is theft. Obviously, Nat is a libertarian. It's okay.
Theft. Good news.
We understand.
I've got great news for you. If you don't want your shit taxed, just go leave the corp that you're in. It's easy, right? I mean, I'm sure the corp that you're going to be going to will have the same kind of robust services and support network that the one that you're in right now has, right? I assume that is the case. If not, at least you'll have all that LP.
There you go.
You're not very nice to them, Mark.
No, he's always mean. Mark is mean. He's a mean guy.
I'm on a fucking tear today, dude.
Between yelling at people in the chat and then going the full out Villy on CCP, they're doing the best they can, guys. Yeah.
No, hang on. I didn't
you
say
are
that.
antagonizing everyone today.
Listen, do you not
Mark?
Stop. Listen, do you not remember this shit? Okay, wait, hang on. This is the wrong screen. Wrong screen. Behind the scenes. This one. Well, whatever. It's this one here. Yes. Okay. Do you
it's
not
the one
remember
with
this?
everything's on fire.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm not sitting here giving CCP the old reach around. Okay. I know how the game is played. All right. I'm just saying that people who want to make themselves feel important by talking about, the game sucks, catch me outside. I'm not interested.
Yeah. I mean, this is just a metagame thing. What is important here, what's good here, is that CCP is going to add a mechanic so that LP is not left out. That should have never happened. It should have always been in the system, taxable like everything else. And then, as Mark is sort of alluding to, it's a matter of, do you join a high tax corp or a low tax one? What services are they providing, right? Mm-hmm. I can imagine that us, meaning goons, we don't provide a great deal of services in a lot of NPC nullsec places. We're probably not going to try and muscle in on the LP tax thing hard because, well, I don't want to do burners. But as Angry says, there are people who have done it completely differently in the past. They dominate a whole NPC region, and that's their money. Making this easy for them, or making this easy for the fact war people by mechanically supporting them, that's very important for CCP to do, even if I don't care, right? So I'm hopeful that this will work. LP has many problems. Maybe it won't. We'll see.
If nothing else, it gives corps more options, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
right. Yeah. Hurricane Warning asked, where we're going, we don't need roads. Name the movie. That would be Ghostbusters. All right. Now, on the screen,
hang on a second.
We're moving on.
Is it Ghostbusters?
CSM Summit recap and upcoming election announcement. For those of you who
I
didn't
believe
see,
you let
and
him get away with that.
based on a lot of it,
That's Event Horizon,
you
right?
fucking guys are so easy to troll. It is unbelievably how easy it is to troll you guys.
Wait a second.
It's so
not-
easy to troll.
Hang on. Wait, stop.
No, of course it wasn't Ghostbusters.
You're hurting
it was
his
Karate
mind.
Kid.
Okay. No, wait, stop. Okay, go.
What?
We
Say the
only have
next thing.
20 seconds left.
Say the next thing. Say the next thing. Wait.
Anyway, next thing. Official CSM 17 Summer Recap. For those of you who give a shit, and I doubt it's many of you, but there are some that may care about this quite a bit. The final Summit minutes are out. I will link them in the chat here in a second when I get off this screen. For those of you who are interested, you can go and read about all the stuff that we on the CSM did in Reykjavik way back in late January, early February. I'm happy that these minutes are out. I thought they were done okay. I would have liked to have had more names of individual CSM members in there rather than just the CSM. But I think that was done to protect the innocent. And I also would have liked to have seen the listing of all the CCP people that were in the meetings, but I know that was a little difficult because, to be bluntly honest, we're the only ones that use their CCP names. Nobody in the company does, and most of them can't even remember what they are. So I'm like the font of wisdom because I remember all these guys' CCP names because I wrote them down on minutes for so many years.
Well,
but the reality is most people don't know.
Yeah.
So that's there. I will link that in the chat in a second. The other important thing that was announced when they did this was CSM 18 election season. For those of you who are interested in running for the CSM and you've been paying attention, normally right now we would be in the middle of campaign season or gearing up towards campaign season with the announcement of the next election. And generally speaking, the election would be in the beginning of June. CCP has decided not to do that. They are moving the elections to September to fuck me personally is what I think. But I think in general,
They just don't want to let you go, buddy.
that's it. I can't get out. I can't be finally term limited. I have to wait. So what they're going to do is they're going to make the announcement at FanFest of who won. So the election will be before FanFest. The season will be open sometime in August. They will announce at CSM at the CSM at FanFest. So our term does not end until September 25th, 2023. So I have another May, June, July, August, September, 5 months to deal with you fucking people.
My
before I
dad's
can
going
be
to
finally
manage to
retired.
retire. My dad will retire before you get off the CSM, Brisc.
That's
I
awful.
just realized that.
That is awful. So, and anyway, there you go. You get me. You're stuck with me for another 5 months. I know some people will be very pleased with that. I know some people will be very mad about that. Now, the last thing we're going to do, we're running out of time. I was going to go into, we had a Pearl Abyss revenue call, and we had the release of CCP's tax statements for 2022. This requires a little more in-depth stuff, and to be bluntly honest, I really want Nosy Gamer to be here. Noisy is our boy. He knows this stuff backwards and forwards. He's in a hotel room right now, so he couldn't join the show this week, so I'm hoping that we'll be able to get him in a future segment. So I'm going to try to book him for the next time we do the show, which is something else we'll talk about when we get to the end. But before that, I do want to talk briefly about the MER with Angry because he's our resident economist, and I don't want him to leave the show without getting to talk about the MER. So can you give us what we should care about in the MER, Angry, briefly, while we wrap the show up here? And I'd love to get Oz on too. That would be great. Doing an Oz and Noisy at the same time would be great. But
MER is not very interesting. It's everything's pretty normal except for that minerals are expensive right up to the run-up when they're gonna need a lot of them for T2 dreads. So that's something CCP. I've been telling CCP they should probably address before when the big building rush happens. But we'll see what they do because if they do anything, it'll probably be in that same patch. So down a bit more.
There it is.
Economic indices, full history. So you see the minerals are expensive again, right as when people might need a lot of them. But so are surprisingly now, so are the things that also build into T2 Dread. So SPPI is where all the Moongu is. So these are things I think CCP needs to address. I don't know how they'll address them because again, whether they listen to us is is always a coin flip.
I mean, and it's partly the yo-yo of player opinion too. They certainly reacted to crashing Tech 2 prices just a few months ago by unwinding part of the volume change, right, with Mungu, and that has caused, I think, at least some of this, right? And now we appear to be heading towards a world in which it seems like Tech 2 mats will be under demand, right? But don't know what else they'll do. So, and I think people are speculating too, is the other thing. As soon as Tech 2 dreads drop, all of the people who can make at least that very basic two-step mental analysis went and bought as much Mungu as they could. And here we are. Shocking, right? So I will be very interested to see how things evolve and who's right and who's wrong. So some people may not know this, but I generally try to avoid speculation in general. It's a difference from some of the previous finance directors. That's not, based on that sort of thing. Obviously with NDA information, we can't act anyway, but previously I had always been advising people, don't try and speculate on too little information. And that continues to be what I tell people, right? So it'll be interesting to see how things go.
Futility says they listen to the Pochvin lobbyists. Why aren't the nullsec ones as good? Because the Pochvin guys hired the nullsec ones to do their lobbying for them.
I have to sandbox on this, actually. Right. So this is interesting with Pochvin. I'll take 2 minutes. When they made the Pochvin nerfs, it obviously cut Pochvin's income dramatically. They dropped, I think, by like half or more, something like 15 trillion from the region in a month down to 8 or 9, maybe less, right? But 5, okay, even less. But what did not change is the ISK to destruction ratio. It was still 2 or 3 times as good as nullsec or as wormholes, right? They were just not having as much stuff destroyed. And what happened with the nerfs is that now an even smaller group of people were able to dominate the region because there was just not nearly as much population, and almost all of that 5 trillion was flowing to a lot smaller number, right? So I appreciate that it feels like, oh, CCP listened to the lobby, but they had really, the nerfs did something, but it didn't fundamentally change the architecture of the space either, and that's what we really want.
Bingo. The only other thing I thought was interesting in the MER, and I had it up on the screen at the very end there, was they're now showing a lot of more granular detail about ESS's main bank thefts, reserve bank thefts, things like that, which I think is interesting. One of the things that I think that the faction warfare guys have asked for, and I think we should probably talk to Estimate about, is getting some kind of LP related line or graph in the MER, just so we can see where that money is going or how it's being generated, especially once we get to the point where that can be taxed. I think a lot of the faction warfare folks are complaining. The ones that complain are complaining loudly about direct enlistment because they view that as devaluing the value of LP, because you got far more people that are in there farming and doing the PvE side of faction warfare, and that had been primarily something that the other groups had used to fund themselves. Although, of course, as Angry pointed out, that's not always the case, and there were plenty of nullsec groups that had alts that participated in doing that, like Black Legion, like others, to make money by farming implants and things like that. So at the end of the day, I don't know if that's an easy thing for Estimate to do, but I'd like to see him at least say, hey, we considered it, or we'd like to do it, or something like that. It would be nice to see the actual faction warfare LP, not just the mission stuff that's in there now, right? I mean, the mission stuff is in there, right? Angry, I think.
Yeah, it's agent missions only in the MER right now. No faction warfare, no incursion. Right. It's dependent on the location of the agent. So, like, if you get an agent mission in, I don't know,
Curse
6NJ or something, that LP goes to the venal side once you complete it.
Yeah, that's just weird. Like, that we wouldn't see.
Estimate said he's looking into it. Of course, all this stuff requires approval from up top, so
That's correct. So, all right, we gotta ask our friend CCP Ratati to let us get the data. That would be nice. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we are way over time. You guys got an extra 10 minutes out of us today, and that is good for you because I have an announcement. We're going to have a 2-week hiatus here on the show. Next Saturday, I have some stuff with my son. He's got a band concert that I have to be at. And then the week after, I will be in Amsterdam going to see Vermeer paintings at the Rijksmuseum and not on the show. So we're going to have a 2-week break between us and the next meta show. And then hopefully after that, I will be able to get Angry and potentially Oz to come on and talk Pearl Abyss and CCP finances. And then we'll also see, hopefully, what else is going on in EVE over the next 2 weeks. And I pray to God that that includes them fixing the damn chat server. Because no matter how much Mark Villi Resurrectus wants to say, it'll be okay, it's not okay till it's fixed.
I know that you have not yet trusted me to take over the show by myself in your absence. That's wise of you.
I know.
Yes.
I'm worried about it. That's it. I have to get you all set up with all this shit, and I don't have enough work to do. But hey, you know what? If you're interested in potentially hosting the show while I'm gone,
we haven't had
we
a
might be able to make
edition
that
in a
happen.
while.
That's true. It's been a
We
long
might
time
be able to
since
make that happen.
a proper coup.
That's it.
I
We
don't
might be able to
know.
make that happen. We'll see. So maybe there will be a show
Yeah, plus
in the next 2
expansion's
weeks. I don't
coming out,
know.
right?
That's
And the
true.
expansion, right? Obviously, we'll have the expansion coming up in
yeah,
June,
that's
so we'll get
true.
there. We'll see. So,
Huh.
in any event, Angry, any last words before we get out of here?
Nope.
Kaz,
I don't know. Map changes every year. That's my comment.
that's fair. Mark.
I don't know. Get good.
Get good. Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Meta Show for May the 13th, 2023. I'm Brisc Rubal, joined alongside Mark Resurrectus, Wormhole King, and Rental King of Wicked Creek, Angry Mustache, and Kazanier from CSM 17 and the Goonswarm Federation. We love that you guys joined us today. I hope that you will all take a moment and reflect on our missing friend, ISD Durham, and that you have a great rest of the weekend. You stay classy, New Eden. Also, ladies and gentlemen, stick around for after here on INN. We will be joined by Dave Archer playing Demonology. He's going to be playing a new game here on INN.